everyone. Welcome to the News Today edition of 23rd of April. My name is Anuj and I will be taking today's session. We will be also focusing on the PYQs as well. In today's session, we will be covering 5 main news and 8 quick update and 1 place in news. In the first main news, we will be covering about the downgradation of the Athletic Federation of India from category B to category A by Athletic Integrity Unit. In this, we will be covering about doping in sports. Then, in the second main news, we will be covering about the government push for ethanol protection through sugar sector reforms. Then, in the third main news, we will be covering about the information warfare as it is changing the face of the wars. Then in the fourth main news, we will be covering about the promotion and regulation of online gaming rules 2026, which have been notified by the government. And in the last main news, we will be covering a report by the name of Extreme Heat and Agriculture. And this report have been released by FAO and WMO. These are the main news that we will be covering in the today's session along with the related PYQs. Then we will be briefly covering 8 quick update and 1 place in news. Place in news for today is United Kingdom. So this is the brief about today's session. Let us start the discussion with the first main news. And first main news is not that good in the context of India and especially related to the sports. What is the news? News is related that the Athletic Integrity Unit has downgraded the Athletic Federation of India from category B to category A. In this news, we will be covering about the doping in sports, why there is downgradation in the category and what are the meaning of this downgradation. It is related to paper 2 where syllabus talks about issues relating to development and management of social sector services relating to health, and it is also related to paper 4 ethics in sports. Let us start the discussion of this news. First of all, the development. So Athletic Integrity Unit, which is a fully independent body under World Athletics, which is a Monaco-based international governing body for track and field athletics, race walking, road cross country, mountain trail and ultra running. So this is the body which have downgraded the AFI from category B to category A. Before moving further, let us understand about doping and why it is so prevalent. It is not a recent phenomena, it is an ancient phenomena when they used to use opium or wine to fight the wars. Okay, that is related to doping, that is taking illegal substances to take advantage over your competition. Okay, let us also understand about the Goldsman dilemma here. Such types of terms are important for writing mains answers in paper 4. What is this Goldsman dilemma? So Goldsman was a person and he asked the elite athletes. I'm not talking about the various athletes. I'm talking here about elite athletes. He gives a condition that you take this tablet and you will be sure of a Olympic medal, but you will be dying in the 5 years. What do you think? What's the answer for the various elite athletes? 52% of the elite athlete said they will take the tablet to gain and medal in the Olympics, although it will lead to death in the 5 years. That is the reason of doping. That is the reason why the doping is so prevalent. Winning on any condition. This is about the Goldsman dilemma. Now let us come to the AFI, Athletic Federation of India. in category A means that athlete must now comply with more stringent anti-doping requirements. Okay, there will be checking at the various stages because now our category is category A. AFI is the FX body for running and managing athletics in India, and it organizes the national championships, train the Indian athletes, national campaigners, selects the Indian athletics team for various international competition. So if there is a question about AFI, you should be knowing about it and what are its function. Now let us move forward in this news and understand about what is doping. So doping is the act of consuming artificial and often illegal substances to gain an advantage over other in sporting competition. So basically, taking illegal and artificial substances to improve one's performance artificially, not naturally. That is doping. And think of an example. Suppose you are an athlete and you are preparing to compete in running race, and you have prepared well, you have worked hard and given your everything. But then there is a competition of yours who has taken these artificial or illegal substances to improve his or her performance. That person will win over your hard work. That is the meaning of doping, and it is basically cheating in sports. Then, what are the example? Anabolic steroids. Even the gym goers uses these steroids to build up the muscles, and they produce artificial testosterone, and that gives a high strength or muscle build. But that also impacts the health. Body thinks that there is enough testosterone in the body, and it impacts the natural testosterone production that can lead to infertility. Then there are human growth hormones as well as stimulants. You might have heard about energy drinks. These energy drinks also works as stimulants. Okay, they are not covered under the doping, but they also works as stimulant. Energy drinks. Basically, they don't have energy, but they have caffeine. It is like you are drinking 5 cups of coffee in a single cube or a single cup. That is the work of the energy drinks. Okay. Then what is the status in India? And this is very concerning. So India have recorded 48 anti-doping rules violation and ranked second in the year 2022. Then 63rd, 63 and ranked second in the year 2023, and 71 and ranked first in the year 2024. And at 3.6%, India's positivity ratio, that means how many samples are taken and how many have turned positive, was the highest among the world. And what are the key driving factors why Indian athletes are using the doping substances? First of all, there is lack of awareness, lack of education, lack of know about the doping. And there are other factors as well, such as performance pressure. Sports is looked down in the Indian society, and one has to excel to prove herself or himself. That is the performance pressure. There is financial incentives because winners takes all. That is the method in India. Then weak testing and monitoring also support the doping usage in India. Now let us move further and understand about the concerns related to doping. Here we also talk about the ethical concerns as well. First of all, medal at all cost mentality. Okay. And this mentality undermine the spirit of fairness, integrity, and the level playing field for which the sports is known for. Then, health versus performance. As we have discussed in the Goldsman dilemma, people are preferring the performance over the health. Here, health was dying in 5 years. Okay, even the gym goers, when they are taking the steroids, they knows that it can lead to infertility. Even then, they are taking the steroids. And inequality and access. If doping will be prevalent, only few can access and take advantage of it. And other concerns are damage to reputation and the financial losses as well if one is caught. Then let us move further and understand about the initiative taken to curb the doping in India as well as in the world. First of all, the National Anti-Doping Act of 2022, which was amended in the year 2025. So it provides a statutory framework for doping-free sports in India. And it was amended in the year 2025 and further strengthened the regulatory framework. Then there is a body known as NADA, which stands for National Anti-Doping Agency, and it is a registered society under the Societies Registration Act of 1860 in the year 2005 under the Ministry of Youth Affairs and the Sports. This information is very important for prelims examination as well. It is a registered society under the Societies Registration Act of 1860, and it have registered in the year 2005, and it is under the Ministry of Sports, Youth Affairs and Sports. Then we have NIDAM's portal, and this portal digitalizes the planning and management of anti-doping activities like dope testing, education and awareness. Then at the world level, we have World Anti-Doping Agency, which is stand for WADA. It is an independent international organization which was established in 1999, and it publishes the World Anti-Doping Codes and annual prohibited list of the illegal substances. Now let us discuss the PYQs related to this news. First, PYQ is from the prelims examination of the year 2021, and it is related to Olympics. It was a surprise at that time because UPSC was not asking questions related to sports. So it was a surprise at that time. And what was the question? Consider the following statement in respect to the 32nd Summer Olympics. The official motto of this Olympics is a new world. Then sports climbing, surfing, skateboarding, karate and baseball are included in the Olympics. So first statement is not correct because it was motto of the 31st Summer Olympics, not of the 32nd. So answer for this is B2 only. Then there is one more PYQ from the essay of the year 2014. 50 golds in Olympics. Can this be a reality for India? First of all, you have to be positive about the question, and you have to write ways and what are the shortcomings in achieving the 50s gold medal in Olympics for India. This was all about the first news. Now let us move to the second news for today. The second news is related to the sugar sector, and the context is that the government has pushed ethanol production through the sugar sector reforms. It is related to paper 3, where syllabus talks about issues related to direct and indirect farm subsidies and minimum support prices. Let us discuss this news. First of all, please be very clear. Sugar cane as a crop is an indigenous crop. Don't think that it have been brought by the Britishers or other other country. It is an indigenous crop from the bamboo family. Its name is also mentioned in the Atharva Veda. Please write down in the comment section that what is the name of the sugar cane in the Atharva Veda. Okay, please search and write down the name of sugar cane in the Atharva Veda in the comment section. Now let us discuss the development. So development is that the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution has released the draft sugarcane control order of 2026 and have asked for the public comments. This order seeks to replace the 1966 order and modernize the regulation in the sugar sector. So this is the development here. Let us move forward and understand about the key features of the draft order. First of all, it provides for the production of ethanol, which was not mentioned directly in the order of the 1966. So here the draft expand the definition of sugar factory to cover the ethanol production from sugarcane juice, syrup, sugar and molasses. Then factories established exclusively to produce ethanol are exempted from the requirement to submit the 2 crore performance bank guarantee that is required by the sugarcane factories, but not by the factories which are exclusively established for production of the ethanol. And it is to promote the production of ethanol and ethanol blending in the petrol. Then there is a clear formula for the conversion rate, and it will be calculated by treating every 600 liter of ethanol as equivalent to 1 ton of the sugar production. Then there are other features as well. First of all, second is that related to the timely payment. So these draft rule says that a farmer should be paid in the 14 days after he or she submits its sugarcane to the factory. And if sugar mill is not giving the payment in the 14 days, then there will be an interest payment of 15% per annum. There was an issue where sugar mill used to not pay the farmers timely. So this provision was also there in the 1966 order, and it is also there in the 2026 orders. Then about the Khandsari sugar regulation. So basically in India, sugarcane is used for the production of sugar good, which is known as jaggery in English, and Khandsari. Some people call it as khand as well. So for that, Khandsari sugar regulation also have been provided, and it is bought under FRP regime and made subject to the mandatory licensing. India is the second largest producer of the sugar. Second largest producer. Such types of facts are important for the prelims examination. Now let us move further and understand about the fair and remunerative price. It is the price declared by the central government at which mills are bound to procure sugar cane from the farmers. So the price is established by the government, not by the mill owners. Then it is fixed based on the cost of production written from the alternative crop. Suppose farmer was not planting the sugar cane. So if that price is also included, then sugar recovery rate, how much sugar is recovered from the sugar cane, byproduct values such as molasses values, now ethanol as well, consumer affordability of sugar is also considered, and reasonable farmers margin. Then it is decided based on the recommendation of the Commission for Agriculture Cost and Prices, and it is approved by the Cabinet Committee on the Economic Affairs, which is headed by the Honorable Prime Minister. So this statement is very important. Let us read it again. The fair and remunerative prices are decided by a committee, and the name of the committee is the Commission for the Agriculture Cost and Prices, and are approved by a Cabinet Committee on the Economic Affairs. And some states such as Uttar Pradesh, Punjab, Haryana have the state advised prices which are generally above the FRPs. Basically 30 to 40 rupees above the FRPs. Okay, so this was about the fair and remunerative prices. Now let us discuss the PYQs related to this news. First question is of the year 2020, and the questions are related to the minimum support price. The statement 1, in the case of all cereals, pulses and oilseed, the procurement at the minimum support price is unlimited in any state or UT of India. Think logically. Can government procure unlimitedly? There will be a limit. There will be a defined buffer stock. That's why this statement is not correct. Then the second statement, in the case of the cereals and the pulses, the MSP is fixed in any state or UT at a level to which the market price will never rise. So it is not related to market price. Sometimes market price can be way higher than the MSPs. So it is not related to the market price. So this statement is also not correct. So answer would be D, neither 1 and nor 2. Now let us discuss one more PYQs from the year 2018. And please think that MSP as a topic is very important for the prelims examination. So here the question is, consider the following: areca nuts, barley, coffee, finger millet, groundnut, sesame, turmeric. The Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs has announced the MSP for which of the above? Very simple question. So basically there are around 22 crops and you should be aware about them because questions are coming from this area. And if you eliminate coffee in this, the answer would be 2. That is 2, 4, 5 and 6. That include the barley, finger millet, ground nuts and sesame. So with this, we have completed the second main news for today. Now let us move to the third main news, and it is about the information warfare, the changing face of the war. It is related to paper 3, where syllabus talks about challenges to the internal security through communication network. In this news, we will be discussing about the information warfare in the context of the Israel, US and Iran war. Let us start the discussion of this news. First of all, the development. So, the information warfare is a rapidly emerging as the fourth dimension of the warfare in addition to the air, land and sea. And it is visible in Operation Sindoor. It was visible in the Operation Sindoor, as well as it is visible in the ongoing US-Iran war. So, Iran is very intelligently providing messages using memes and other things, GIFs, to various audience for the countries in the eastern region or for the global south. It is showing that it is an attack on the state. Then in the Arab region, it is showing that we are fighting against the Western, anti-Western forces. And for the Western region, they are showing that the Western forces are attacking by overreaching. Let us discuss about a tweet by Iran and as well as USA, and you are a neutral audience. So USA president have wrote that by this and this time the complete civilization of Iran will be demolished. On the other hand, Iran is using terms like that Strait of Hormuz is not like social media where one blocks the another and another can block back the one. Okay, so they are using the terms which are familiar to the present generation. So they are advancing in a direction by using this information and gaining the sympathy around the world. Now let us move further and discuss about the information warfare. So basically it is a term used to describe the collection, distribution, modification, disruption, interference with corruption and degradation of information in order to gain advantage over an adversary. If you see the complete scenario in Iran and US war, all the newspapers are mostly favoring the Iran. There is no doubt that US is aggressor in this situation, but there are some ironies as well. For example, Iran is conducting public opinion on social media platform. Public polls or public opinion, whereas it does not give such freedom in its own country. But it is supporting the public opinion and public polls on the social media platforms, but not in its own country. That is the hypocrisy, or that is the irony to get support around the world. Then what are the method it involves? Using the various strategies and technique to manipulate and influence the public opinion. Suppose you are reading the tweets of the president of USA that I will or we will demolish the complete civilization of the Iran. Don't you think that it will change the public opinion and think that USA is aggressor and acting like a bully? Then it also changes the political discourse and the social norms by using the social media. Then what are the tactics used? It can include the disinformation campaign that can circulated more image, or the fake news. In the present day and world where AI has advanced so much, there is so many fake news and disinformation campaign. Then what are its features. So it is low entry cost, perception management of winning or losing a war, psychological manipulation of public. Let us move further and understand about the information warfare and India. First of all, what are the India's shortcoming? So our approach is more of reactive. So there is a information which is running in the social media or in the news channel, then our ministries are clarifying those information. Basically, that is a reactive approach. So that is given here, that India's approach to the information warfare is largely reactive, focusing on deterrence, defense and fact checking rather than the proactive engagement. So there is lack of proactive engagement. And what can be the way ahead? There can be enhanced interministerial coordination, dedicated funding for the offensive cyber and psychological operation. Then there can be leverage of the artificial intelligence to proactively disseminate narratives and collaborate with the social media platforms to curb the disinformation. Okay, let us discuss the PYQs related to this news. There are two PYQs from the mains examination. One is from the year 2013. So the question is, what are social networking sites and what security implication do these sites present? So basically that all we have discussed in this news. And there is one more PYQ from the year 2023. It is not directly related to our discussion, but here you can see what type of questions are coming related to social media. Question is, child cuddling is now being replaced by mobile phones. Discuss its impacts on the socialization of children. With this, we have completed the third main news. Now let us move to the next main news. It is related to the promotion and regulation of online gaming rules 2026, which have been notified by the government. The act came in the last year. Now these are the rules, and it is related to paper 2, where syllabus talks about the important aspects of the governance. Let us discuss this news. First of all, the development. So these rules are prepared by the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, MIT, and provide for the operational architecture for promotion and regulation of online gaming Act of 2025. So last year, government has found out that around 4 to 5 crore people was involved in the online money games, and there was around loss of 200 crores, which prompted the government to bring the Promotion and Regulation of Online Gaming Act. If you are following the IPL, you might have noticed this year that there are not any ad related to Dream 11, because it involved the money, real money. And they used to say that this is the game of skills, not game of chance. So in India, game of skills are allowed, but game of chance are not allowed. So they used to say that Dream 11, when you are making a team, it is an skill. Okay, but last year, as money was involved, real money was involved in Dream 11, it was banned. There was other games as well, Rummy Circle, Poker Bazi, and other type of app which used to involve the real money. Now let us discuss the rules, before the rules, let us discuss about the act of the last year. So it established a strong legal framework to curb the harmful online money gaming. So it curbs the harmful online money gaming and protect users from the financial, psychological, social distress caused by the predatory gaming platforms. So basically these platforms used the algorithms to attract the audience. And the financial literacy in India is so low that most of the people used to involve in these platforms to gain easy money. But as you might have heard, the house is always the winner. It might be online or it might be offline. So these platforms used to gain a lot from these types of games. Then it promote a regulated growth oriented ecosystem for e-sports and online social games. Basically it promotes games but not games which are harmful or which involve the real money. Then it aligned with India's vision to become a global gaming and innovative hub while safeguarding the society from financial and psychological risk. You might be aware that WHO has classified gaming disorder as a disease. Now let us discuss about the rules. What are the key highlights of these rules? First of all, it established an online gaming authority of India and it will be an attached office of the MIT with headquarter in the Delhi, and its composition will include the 6 member which will be chaired by the additional secretary of the MIT. And what will be its functions? Its function will include the inquiring into the complaint, issuing the compliance order, and publishing a list of the determined money games which are prohibited in India. Then determination of an online game. So basically these rules provide about the determination of online games, and rules prescribed a determination test to classify whether an online game constitute an online money game, and if it constitute an online money game, that game will be banned. Then registration of online game. It is not universally required but mandatory for notified online games based on risk, scale, transition and origin. And it is mandatory for all the esports offering. Now, the other highlights of the rules are that user safety features. It provides technical, procedural, operational, behavior or system related safeguard introduced to protect the vulnerable users. And who are the vulnerable users? Mostly the children's. Okay. Then there is two-tier grievance redressal mechanism, one with the service provider and another with the appellate authority under the Secretary of MIT, with each level aiming to resolve the matter within the 30 days. Lastly, penalties and enforcement. So proceedings are conducted digitally mostly unless physical presence is needed and must be completed within the 90 days. So this was all about the rules. Now let us discuss one PYQ which is there from the mains examination, and this is not directly related to the discussion we have, but it is indirectly related. So question is, discuss how emerging technology and globalization contribute to money laundering. So basically money laundering is converting the illegal money to the legal money, the illegal money which have been gained through corruption or the illegal activities, and elaborate the measures to tackle the problem of money laundering both at national and international level. So here in this question, one point can be written that these online games were used to money launder. That is the only relevance of our discussion in this question, in this particular question. With this, we have completed the fourth main news. Now let us discuss the last main news for today. And it is about the report known as Extreme Heat and Agriculture, and it is released by FAO and WMO. It is related to paper 3, where syllabus talks about the agriculture. Let us discuss this news. First of all, what is heat or extreme heat? So basically, it is the rise in the temperature below the normal range. Above the normal range. And the report warns that the extreme heat is pushing the global and Indian agri-food system to the brink. So you might be aware that our agriculture production is mostly dependent on the natural conditions such as the monsoon or hot or the cold temperature. When there will be increase in the heat, that production of our agriculture will decrease. Let us discuss this news. First of all, let us discuss about two bodies. One is Food and Agriculture Organization and another one is World Meteorological Organization. First of all, the Food and Agriculture Organization, so it was established in the year 1945 and it is a specialized UN agency. Even the WMO is a specialized agency of UN, but it was established in the year 1950. So FAO was established earlier than the WMO. But WMO originate from the International Meteorological Organization, which was established in the year 1873. This is the history about the FAO and the WMO. Now let us discuss their function. FAO leads international effort to defeat the hunger and its headquarters is there in Rome, Italy. Whereas WMO is responsible for the international cooperation in meteorology. Meteorology is related to weather and climate. Operational hydrology. Hydrology is related to the water cycle and related geophysical sciences. Its headquarters is there in Geneva, Switzerland. How many members are there in the FAO? There are 194 members. In that, 193 are the countries and one is European Union. And India is the founding member of FAO. Then what are the key reports of FAO? That include the state of the world forest and the state of food and agriculture. These reports name can be asked in the prelims examination and there can be question that who publishes or which institution publishes these reports. Now coming to the members of WMO, there are 193 members in WMO and it also include India as well. Then major initiative of the WMO, it co-founded the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, in the year 1988 with the UN Environment Program. This is a very important information. Now let us move further and come back to our original discussion, that is related to heat and agriculture. So what are the key highlights of the report regarding the Indian agriculture? First of all, about the food security risk. So heat waves are major threat to Indian rice and wheat production within the Ganges and the Indus River basin. Basically, these regions are affected by the anticyclones. What are anticyclones? They are opposite to the cyclones. Cyclones are the low pressure areas, and these anticyclones are the high pressure areas where air descends. Suppose I am in the northern hemisphere and this air is descending. As there is Coriolis force all around the world except the equator, so this air will move towards the right side in the northern hemisphere and towards the left side in the southern hemisphere. Basically, now I am there in the northern hemisphere, so this will move towards the right side and it will move in the clockwise direction. As the air is descending, the climate will be stable, dry and hot. Also, it affects the yield of fruits, vegetable, dairy, poultry are projected to decline. So, you might be aware that chickens does not have the sweat glands. So, they cannot bear a high temperature. So, they cannot cool down their body by sweating. They does not have sweat glands, chickens. Then threat to the agriculture workers as well. Suppose you are studying, I am not comparing agriculture to the studying, but suppose you are studying and there is very high temperature where you are studying and you are studying directly under the sun. It will be very difficult to focus on the studies and your productivity will reduce. Similarly, the productivity of the agriculture farmers will reduce when there will be high heat. And it has been reported by the report that by the end of the 21st century, under the high emission scenarios, the wet bulb temperature extreme could lead to 40% fall in the work capacity of the farmers. And the report have also suggested some of the recommendation. These recommendations are important for mains examination. Such recommendations are not asked in the prelims examination. So let us go through them quickly. First of all, on-farm adaptation and innovation. Here the report talks about the heat-tolerant crops and livestock breeds, adjusting the planting schedules. Then early warning system such as the seasonal outlook are vital to help the farmers to anticipate the risk and plan accordingly. Then access to the financial services such as cash transfer. You might have heard about the PM Kisan. Risk insurance, Fasal Bima Yojana, and shock responsive social protection. Lastly, the report talks about the climate change mitigation, and it talks about protecting the global food security requires a decisive transition away from the high emission future. Okay, these are the recommendations which are given by the report. Now let us discuss two PYQs related to this news. First PYQ is related to FAO. So the FAO accords the status of globally important agriculture heritage system to traditional agriculture system. What is the overall goal of this initiative? So we will be solving this question. Please write down in the comment section what are the three crops which are provided with the global important agriculture heritage system in India. I will give hint as well. One is from Kerala, another one is from Odisha, and one is from Kashmir. Now coming back to the question, please write down the answer in the comment section. So first statement, to provide the modern technology. So here we are talking about traditional agriculture system. So it first statement contradict the traditional agriculture system. Basically it is for promoting the traditional agriculture system, not promoting with the modern technologies. Then second, to identify and safeguard eco-friendly traditional farm practices and their associated landscape, agriculture, biodiversity, and the knowledge system of the local communities. That is the basic aim of this initiative of FAO. Then to provide a geographical indication status to all the varieties. So it is an extreme statement and this is not an correct statement. So answer for this is B2 only. Now let us discuss one more PYQ related to this news. This is an very interesting PYQ. Question is from the year 2012. Although this is a very old PYQ, but it is an important PYQ. So consider the following agriculture practices. Counter bunding, this is used on the slopy areas, okay, where there is bunding and there is growing of crops. Then relay cropping is growing of crop before harvesting the first crop. That is growing of a second crop before harvesting the first crop, that is relay cropping. Then zero tillage, as it is clear from the name itself that there will be no tillage. So the question was, in the context of the global climate change, which of the above helps or help in the carbon storage in the soil? And why I said that it is a very interesting PYQ, first of all, because counter bunding and relay cropping indirectly support the carbon storage in the soil. But zero tillage directly support carbon storage in the soil. So there was a confusion, but the UPSC answer was B. So basically UPSC have asked about the direct support to the carbon storage in the soil. With this we have completed the main news for today. Now let us discuss the place in news for today. So the place in news for today is United Kingdom, and the context of this news is that the United Kingdom have passed a tobacco law that blocked the cigarette sales to the post 2008 generation. So in their lifetime, the person who have born after 2008 will not receive the tobacco product legally. Okay, this is the context. In this news, we will be covering about the features of United Kingdom. First of all, it is an constitutional monarchy. You might be aware what is the meaning of constitutional monarchy and parliamentary democracy, and it comprises of Great Britain, which include England, Wales and Scotland, and also the northern part of the Ireland, which is known as Northern Ireland. Okay. Then it is located in the northwest of the mainland Europe, and it have the highest number of Ramsar sites, which is followed by Mexico and then India. Now India have 99 Ramsar sites that we will be covering in the quick update. Then maritime boundaries. So UK is surrounded by the English Channel, which is here. This is the English Channel. Then the Irish Sea between the England and Wales and the Northern Ireland and the island. This is the Irish Sea. Then the North Sea, which is between the Great Britain, Norway and Denmark. So this was all about the United Kingdom. Basically, we have covered the geographical features of United Kingdom in this news. Now let us discuss the quick update related to our today's discussion. So first quick update is about the sustainable aviation fuel. And what is the context here? The context is that the government allows blending ethanol and synthetic hydrocarbon into the aviation turbine fuel. So basically, the flights or the aeroplanes uses the aviation turbine fuel, which is one type of kerosene, very high type of kerosene. In that, government have allowed the blending of ethanol and the synthetic hydrocarbon that leads to the production of the sustainable aviation fuel. And in this news, we will be covering about the sustainable aviation fuel. So basically, it is a liquid fuel that can be produced from a number of sources, which include the waste, oil and fats, municipal waste, and non-food crops. Presently, some flights such as Lufthansa use the sustainable aviation fuel. The normal aviation turbine fuel is produced from the crude oil. What is its significance? Basically, it will reduce the CO2 emission by up to 80%, and also it will reduce the dependence on the import of the crude oil. Then SAF can be blended at a different level with limits between 10% to 50% depending on the feedstock and how the fuel is produced. And carbon offsetting and reduction scheme for international aviation is led by the International Civil Aviation Organization. That is the body. This statement is very important, that no targets for fuel used in the domestic flights have been set so far, as there is lot of debate and news about the ethanol blending. So it is very important to remember here that no target for the fuel used in the domestic flight have been set so far. So there is no target about ethanol blending in the aviation turbine fuel. Now let us move to the second quick update. Second quick update is about the evaporative demand. The context here is not that important, but you should be aware about the evaporative demand. The context here is that the study in the Nature Review Earth and the Environment Journal have highlighted that the global drought in the year 2025 affected nearly the 30% of the land area, and these droughts was not mostly by the rainfall deficit, but they were also because of the high evaporative demand. So in this news, we will be discussing about the evaporative demand, what it is. So it is defined as the near maximum water that can evaporate if sufficient moisture is available, and it measures the thrust of the atmosphere. Basically, think of a cloth you put in outside your balcony to dry. If there is hot climate, the sun is directly coming in the sky and there is wind blowing, that cloth will dry in a very quick time. That is the evaporative demand at that time. What are the drivers? It is controlled by the temperature, humidity, wind speed, and solar radiation that we have discussed in our example. And what is the mechanism? Basically, the higher temperature rises the evapotranspiration, drying soils and the vegetation even under adequate irrigation or moderate rainfall. So it is saying if there is moderate rainfall or adequate irrigation as well, this evaporative demand will lead to the droughts. Now let us move to the next quick update. The next quick update is about the prepaid payment instrument. And the context here is that RBI have issued a draft paper proposing the introduction of the prepaid wallet for special use cases such as the foreign national or non-resident Indian in India. Think of an example such as the Amazon gift card. So Amazon gift card is one type of prepaid payment instrument. You are giving a card which has some money that can be used on that platform. So such types of paying methods are known as prepaid payment instrument. And these instruments facilitate the purchase of goods and services, conduct of financial services, enable the remittance facilities, etc. against the value that is stored in them. An example is digital wallet. If you are using the Paytm from long time, you might be aware previously Paytm has used to have its digital wallet. Now that has been stopped by RBI, and it can be issued by the banks as well as the non-banks, but it is an proposed by the RBI. Now let us move to the next news. Next news is about the fund for responding to the loss and the damage. First of all, what is the loss and damage? So basically, it is the change done by the climate change with all the adaptation and mitigation methods which is irreversible. That is the loss and damage. Here we will be covering about fund for responding to the loss and damage. The context here is that the several international organizations have warned that the loss and damage fund may run dry without the fresh financial contribution. Again, the context is not that important, but we should be aware about the fund for responding to the loss and damage. It was established under UNFCCC at the COP27, that is Sharm el-Sheikh 2022, and operationalized at the COP28 that took place in Dubai 2023. And what its mandate? Basically, it assists the vulnerable developing countries in addressing the economic as well as non-economic losses. What are non-economic losses? Cultural or the biodiversity losses are considered as the non-economic losses, and damage from the climate change. What is the financing method? It mobilizes funds via government contribution, private sector, and the innovative mechanism. And its secretariat is hosted by the World Bank. Such type of statement can come directly in the prelims examination, where UPSC can give a statement that the fund for responding for loss and damage is hosted by the World Bank or IMFC. So you have to select that statement is correct or wrong. Now let us move to the next quick update. The next quick update is about a scheme, that is the Prime Minister Internship Scheme. And here the context is that the Ministry of Corporate Affairs have expanded the eligibility criteria for the scheme to include the final year undergraduate as well as the postgraduate student under this scheme. In this news, we will be learning about this scheme, what all this scheme is about. First of all, its objective, it's provide structured paid internship opportunities in the top companies to the youth across the country. Basically, there is a mismatch in India between the skills required by the industries and the skills present with the student. So to fulfill that gap, this scheme is there, and it also provides the financial incentives to the student. So interns receive a minimum financial assistance of around 9,000 per month, and it is there for 6 to 9 months depending on the nature of internships. And who are the beneficiaries? It is the youth between the age of 18 and 25 who are not employed full time. Let us move to the next quick update. The next quick update is very important. Quick update about the Sekha Jheel Bird Sanctuary. And the context here is that the Sekha Jheel Bird Sanctuary have become the 99th Ramsar site. So suppose if there is a statement in the UPSC that there are more than 100 Ramsar sites in India, or exactly there are 100 Ramsar sites in India, that would be incorrect. and there can be other statements as well, that India have the largest Ramsar sites. We have already discussed that UK have the largest Ramsar site, which is followed by Mexico, and at the third place it is India. And if suppose there is a statement that India in the Asian region have the largest Ramsar site, then that statement would be correct. Let us discuss about the Sekha Jheel Bird Sanctuary. It is located in the Aligarh, Uttar Pradesh, and it is a freshwater perennial water bodies that come into existence after the formation of Upper Ganga Canal. Upper Ganga Canal is from the Haridwar. Okay, and it is basically for the irrigation. Then we have the lower Ganga Canal as well, that came into existence later after the Upper Ganga Canal, and it is from the Narora. Okay, and as it is by the formation of Upper Ganga Canal, it is partially man-made. Okay, that is given on the Ramsar site, that it is partially man-made. Please prepare about the Ramsar site. I think from last year to this year, last year prelims to this year prelims, around 9 to 10 new Ramsar site have been included in the Ramsar Convention. Please learn about all those sites in detail. Then what are the notable birds which are found in this region is Indian river tern and the Saurus crane. And it is designated as an important bird and biodiversity area by the BirdLife International. Let us move to the next quick update. The next quick update is about the flex fuel vehicle. And the context is that the India is considering transition to the flex fuel vehicle to reduce the dependence on the imported crude. You might be aware about the ongoing disturbances in the Western Asian region, which have impacted the import of the crude, and that become a threat for our energy security. That's why India is considering transition towards the flex fuel vehicle. In this news, we will be covering about these vehicles. So basically, these are the modified vehicles that can operate entirely on gasoline or any blend of gasoline, ethanol, which is ideally up to 83%, that is E83. But modern flex fuel vehicles are increasingly designed to operate on higher blend that include the E100, that is pure ethanol. And they have a conventional internal combustion engine. So their engine is normal like the normal vehicle engine. But there is some calibration to include the ethanol compatible fuel system and a different powertrain calibration. Then they display the improved acceleration performance, but there is decrease in the the power produced. Now let us move to the next news. Next news is about the technology development and investment promotion scheme. Here the context is that the Union Minister of Communication have released the revised guidelines for this scheme for the year 2026 and 2031. In this news, we will be covering about this scheme. First of all, what is its objective? It is designed as a comprehensive support framework to enable the Indian telecom entities to actively contribute to promote innovation, enhance India's competitiveness in the next generation telecommunication technology. Basically, it wants to promote the 6G, sixth generation. What are the lacunas or what are the shortcomings in 6D? Basic lacuna is that it required an very high energy and it have a very short range. So the developers have to overcome these shortcomings of the 6G. Then what are the implementing agency for this scheme? It includes the Telecommunication Standards Development Society. It includes the Telecom Center of Excellence India and Telecommunication Consultants India Limited. With this, we have completed the news today discussion of today. And if you want to read further the current affairs or you want to solve the smart quizzes, you can visit the digital current affairs website of us, and please solve the questions which are visible on your screen and write down their answers in the comment section. Thank you and all the best for your preparation.